Congratulations on the purchase of your new Regal boat from Buckeye Marine. This video series is meant to act as a resource for you to understand a lot of the key systems, features, and service and maintenance considerations for your new boat. While we're looking at a 2024 LS2 in this video series, a lot of what we go over is going to be relatable to all of their stern drive and outboard model lineups. So if you've purchased a different boat, be sure to still tune in. A lot of what we go through here is still going to be applicable to those other models. So let's dive in. So before launching your boat for the first time, the most important yet simple feature is going to be the drain plug on the transom of the boat. So underneath the drive, there's a spot to screw in this nylon drain plug. That's going to prevent water from coming in the boat. The reason the drain plug exists is for when the boat's sitting on a trailer or is out of the water for storage, you can pull this out to drain any residual water that's in the hull of the boat. Obviously, when you go to launch it for the first time, it's always a good safety measure to double check that you've got that installed properly. So before you launch the boat off the trailer or untie it from the dock, you want to make sure it's good to go and the systems are all set so the boat will start and run seamlessly. So the next step would be to turn your battery switch on. Every Regal boat's equipped with a battery switch or dual battery switch, which shuts power off to the entire boat and allows power to come back on. On this LS2, it's located in the starboard side rear compartment. I'm going to go and turn it from the 12 o'clock off position to the 3 o'clock on position. Now, most Regals are equipped with a dual battery system, so past the 3 o'clock position is a combine or emergency system. If you turn it to that kind of 5 o'clock position, anytime you don't have enough juice in your engine battery to start the boat, by turning it to combine, you're now synchronizing the two batteries and it's going to pull from the second battery to help start the boat. In normal operation with new batteries, you should be okay just running in the on position, but if you ever have an issue starting the boat, always try that emergency combined system first before boosting the battery. Again, the battery switch position is in different places depending on the model of Regal, so make sure you familiarize yourself with where the battery switch is on your specific boat. For the new Ultimate Series Regals, they use an automated battery system that's all from the dash. So just click that button by the helm, that will automatically set the battery system on or off, and it will automatically change between the on system or the combined setting if it needs more voltage. So now that you've turned the battery switch on, allowed power to the boat, before starting it, you want to make sure that you have adequate voltage so the batteries haven't died while you've been away, and that you've got adequate fuel. So quickly, before starting the boat, I'm looking at the dash. I'm seeing 12.3 volts on the voltmeter. The boat will need 12 volts to start. If you see that coming in that 10 to 11 range or lower, you're going to want to either turn the battery to the combined position to see if that voltage comes up using both batteries, or get a charger on it before launching. Obviously with fuel, you want to make sure you've got enough fuel for your outing to go out for the day. The next step before starting is going to be the blower. If you've got a stern drive model with a Volvo inboard-outboard motor, you need to turn the blower on for about 4 minutes. So you could do this while you're getting the boat ready on the trailer. The blower switch is going to be either located to the right of the steering wheel right here, noted bilge blower. If you've got an Ultimate Series with digital switching, it will be built right into the software on the screen. So we're going to turn that blower on, let it sit for 4 minutes, and then we're ready to start the boat. So having run the blower, we know we have adequate voltage on the batteries, and we know that we've got adequate fuel for our trip. We're safe to start the boat and prepare to leave the dock or leave the trailer. So before starting as well, you've got the safety lanyard right here. The boat will not start if this has been pulled off. So this lanyard exists if you were to hook it to yourself and you fell out of the driver's seat or something and it disengages, it is going to turn the boat off. It's a common thing we see is people call us with questions about why their boat won't start after it's been running perfectly. A lot of the time this has been pulled or shifted and the boat won't start. So we're gonna just make sure that's attached here right by the throttle. Make sure the boat's in neutral and then you're safe to go ahead and start it. For most forward drive models, you do have to trim down a bit to make sure the drive is in the water enough before starting. So if your boat's in neutral, you've got adequate voltage and it won't start, just check and make sure you've got the trim set to the proper level. So if you've gone through all those checks and your boat still won't start, again, the top 3 things to look for if your boat isn't starting is voltage. Do you have enough voltage, that 12 volts that's needed to fire the starter over? Is the boat in neutral? A lot of times if people come into a dock, hit reverse, and don't put it back into the neutral position, the boat will not start. So always check, make sure it's in neutral, make sure you've got adequate voltage, and make sure your kill switch is on. If you've done those things or the voltage is fluctuating, the next thing you can do is check the battery connections, make sure they're tight. You always want to tighten them with a wrench, not hand tighten those nuts. So if you've gone through all those steps, you're now able to start the boat. You're going to let it warm up, make sure it comes up to temperature as per Volvo's spec, typically around 160 degrees, I believe. Once the boat's up to temperature and you can see that it's holding steady, untie, back it off the trailer, whatever you're doing, and you're ready to go out and enjoy your day. So being a brand new motor and brand new motor, there is a 20-hour break-in period on the Volvos that you are going to want to adhere to maximize your boat's overall performance and extend the engine life. Essentially during the first 10 hours of use, you want to vary the RPMs. So the motor wants to experience the range of RPMs in the kind of 0 to 75% range. So you don't want to spend a lot of time above 75% to full throttle, at most a minute or 2 at a time. But for that first 10 hours, it's okay to cruise, it's okay to experience different speeds, but just make sure you're not sitting at one speed for an extended period of time. You're also going to make sure you're checking your oil regularly. While everything's getting seated in the motor and the piston rings and cylinders are getting lubricated, it's normal for a brand new motor to absorb some more oil and the dipstick to show a little lower level after each use. So make sure you're checking the dipstick. On these Volvo motors, all of the service checkpoints are indicated in yellow. So I've got our dipstick over here, which you can check before each use. And then our coolant reservoir over here. This 280 V6 is a closed loop cooling motor. So it does utilize coolant. It shouldn't use out a lot of coolant, but you want to check and make sure that that's topped up before each use. So there's a shift in marine motors now to being closed loop cooling. So the boat is still using water from the lake to pull in and cool down a heat exchanger that's cooling down the coolant. The coolant, though, is what's running through the motor to cool it down. So you want to make sure you have adequate coolant levels. I often have clients ask me why the boat would have coolant if it no longer needs lake water and fresh water from the lake to run. The answer is yes, it absolutely does need that fresh water from the lake. Instead of it pulling water and going right through the motor, with the cooling system on the boat, that water is never actually touching your block. It's touching a heat exchanger that's cooling down the coolant and going through your boat. Not something you need to know, but for a lot of people it gives you a little better perspective on how the motor cools itself compared to how some of the older boats operated. So now that you've familiarized yourself with a lot of the systems, the powertrain, the electrical system on the boat, obviously the stereo and the dash controls in these dual screens is the next step. It's an incredibly capable system. It's incredible the information you can pull up. In its simplest form, I usually tell people to set it up with gauges on one screen. These are all your boat controls, your fuel, your RPM, your speed, your engine hours, your voltage, those key performance indicators that you want. And then you can usually set your secondary screen up either as a media device to control the stereo, or most people will like the integrated GPS. So spend some time, customize it the way you want. There's a ton of functionality in the Garmin system. I can't get through it all in one video, and even I'm, after a decade, I'm not an expert on this stuff yet. But spend some time playing around with it, customizing it to your needs and setting it up. There's a ton of stuff you can do, and it's a very, very user-friendly system. So I hope you've found this orientation video helpful. Obviously, during your water test and delivery, make sure you reach out to our delivery captain and ask any other questions you have to make sure you're comfortable once you've taken delivery. Then obviously the owner's manual for the boat and motor is going to be a key resource if you have other questions. And you can always reach out to us at Buckeye or our service department or sales team to have any clarifications while you're kind of learning the boat in your first few hours of operation. Again, congratulations on one of the best boats on the water, and we look forward to seeing you out there.